Heyo everybody, Haku here with my review for Tower of God Chapter 396, or Season 2, Episode 316. Finally up on Tuesday like it should be, I hope. I hope I'm posting this when I'm recording it. Yeah. This one had a lot going on, and it's probably going to be a long review. At least 20 minutes, maybe upwards of 30, but it's hard to tell from notes, because sometimes I have a ton of notes and it's a really short review. Sometimes I have like no notes, but I discuss everything to the point where it ends up being pretty long. So I can envision this one being pretty long. There's a lot of content here. It took me a long time just to read the chapter, like it has for the past few weeks, and honestly, this much content in a single week, like we've been getting for like the past month, is pretty crazy to be getting this much every single week. So yeah, the manhwa is in a good place right now, and we got to see a lot of new characters that I'm interested in, but I guess we'll talk about them towards the end since they come in towards the end. I'll start at the beginning here. So we see Shua Arthur telling Lee Ja-woon about the charges against the regulars, that the excuse is that they're teaming with FUG to take over the train and use it for their own means or whatever. But that's the charge against them. So what he's asking of Lee Ja-woon is to both lock the regulars out of the station, because if they get into the station, the rankers can't go after them, but also to let Zahard's allied rankers and regulars stay there to hunt them. In addition to that, he says the Guardian already knows about what's going on, and in the worst case scenario, everybody on the floor dies. They're all getting killed, just genociding the floor essentially, if the worst comes to worst. And then we see that Charlie and I don't really remember what his actual name was, the Vice Priest. He didn't have a name, but he had some sort of title. I don't remember what it was exactly, but I think it's something along the line of Vice Priest or Vice Minister or something. But they're both still alive, and so I had to go do some looking up and exploring for why they were still alive, like I had to do for a few other things this week, or I do often for reviews. And it turns out it was a translation error. Thank you to somebody who pointed it out on Reddit. But there was a translation error way back in chapter 30 or episode 309. That'd be chapter 389, something like that. But either way, like 7 chapters ago, there was a mistake in the translation where they say, "Oh yeah, they were all sentenced to death, and we covered it up or whatever." But that was a mistranslation, and it should have been everybody except the High Priest was sentenced to death, but we snuck them out of there. So that would have made things make a lot more sense. Line was way off on that one. So that's why, if you were confused as to why they're still alive, that was why they're still alive. They got snuck out of there. And that probably means that they still are under threat of possibly being killed. So Charlie and the Vice Priest are still alive, and they're there with Shua Arthur. And we see that both Lee Ja-woon and Shua Arthur, they're both kind of conflicted about this. Both of them seem to have this attitude like, okay, this is what Zahard's ordering, but why is he ordering this? This isn't a very good thing. So they both have some morals that are conflicting with the actual orders they've been given. And then in addition to that, we cut to 10 days later. And 10 days later, Beta and Andrasi are still looking for Albelda. Evan confronts Ryun about what's going on, and we get the information that I still don't really know completely what this means. I don't think anybody quite can. But the witches can see fate, and the dwarves can see crossroads. So I would assume that means he sees, okay, one path leads to this, one decision leads to this, one leads to this, whereas Ryun can see what's fated to happen. So there is a difference in the way they see the pathways. We already kind of knew that, but this is more detail for that, so it's important. The binding spell for white is broken, which I think we all kind of assumed after the, for a couple of reasons. Both because the rules had gotten sketchy after Baum left the hidden floor, but in addition to that, because it was basically something that happened because of a spell by Rowan, and now that they're all freed from where they are and Rowan is within Albelda, the spell shouldn't work now. Either way, the rules are just screwy. Just know that the rules are screwed up. But Rion wants to try to use Albelda to control White. If they fuse back together, maybe she can influence him and actually cause White to help Bomb and them. And in addition to that, she says that it wasn't her plan, it was Albelda's plan in order to help Bomb. Then we get a reveal to Evan that Zahard has noticed Bomb's existence and all of that. So that's a pretty big thing. And we're going to have to see, obviously Evan and Yuri are going to side with Bomb. They're friends. They seem to have a real loyalty there. And if Zahard does something super evil, they're not going to stick with him. But that's going to be a big decision for them, because it's a very public and very dire thing for the both of them to stand against the Zahard Empire being high rankers. So that's something incredibly important. And also Rion says that she asked Peropo to speed up the train. The thoughts are that if they get there quicker, then not as many of Zahard's people will have made it there yet, and they'll have less to fight through, but it's going to be pretty bad either way. They got a week left before they get there, and yeah, we had a several month time skip, then a 10-day one, and now still a week before they get there. Long way from the last station to this station, because we had a bunch of other stuff in addition to that. Like, it's been forever. The last station was before the floor of death on floor 42. So we've come a really, really long way. This has been a long journey, like time-wise, for them to get to this last station. But either way, we have 1 week later. Bomb is still sparring with the God of Guardians before he tells him goodbye, but Bomb says that now he can sometimes bring out a little bit of the second Thorn Fragment's power, but even then when he tries to do it, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And the God of Guardians' advice is basically, yeah, don't worry about it, it's too much power for you right now, but you'll grow, you'll get stronger, and eventually it won't be too much power. So that's the basic advice and basic place Bomb is when it comes to being able to use the second Thorn Fragment. And it does seem like it has the ability to mess with space and matter in some way. And then Rion calls together Bomb, Boro, and Irure, and we have Ponytail Rion, which is a pretty rare Rion going on. And she says that those three are going to take groups that she has split apart and assigned to them, and they're going to escape through the station. So she didn't tell them on screen where they need to meet up afterward, but also we don't know who is going to be with which one of those three. This is going to be another interesting splitting of the characters. And we see that we have a ton of new characters and a ton of returning characters, and a bunch of characters like Yuan Sung and Evan Kell and Jin Sung that are going to be jumping in. So there's going to be a lot of cool stuff going on, and the teams are probably going to get more people added to them throughout this arc. And they're probably going to be just completely new characters that we haven't even seen yet this chapter, that are hanging out at the station or whatever when all this goes down, like innocent bystanders that are going to have to decide who they want to side with, and some of them will probably end up with Bomb's group. Like the daughter of Li Jawoon, Li Suyong, she could totally end up with one of Bomb's teams or allies, since they are still regulars, even though they're in charge of that station. So, anything else for that scene? Nope, we go to the Li Suyong scene next. So she's the daughter of Jawoon, and she is against him siding with Zahard's people here, saying this is a place that's supposed to be safe for regulars, and you've just been intimidated a little bit, and you're going to give in on your dream of making a resting place for regulars that have made it through the entire train. So she's pretty pissed off about that. So Jawoon strips her of her rights as a person in charge of the dome, and then she storms off. She's called on her pocket by someone named Ryuan. She tells Ryuan, and this is probably going to be kind of important, she tells Ryuan to basically report to her anything that her father is doing, and Ryuan says, okay, this is bad, the train is here super early. So who knows, I guess maybe they're so early that they won't be able to lock them out, but I don't know. We'll see how this goes. And in addition to that, We see some C rank regulars here. Unisona, who I like their design. Redbeard, who we've seen their symbol before, and Pinnacle. And I didn't realize this even after taking notes on it until I saw a bunch of comments on the chapter. But they're like, Pinnacle, the pickle is back. And is Pinnacle Power Cool? If so, how did they become a C rank regular? And also, they look a bit different than Paracool last looked, but this was a more detailed panel than I think we've ever seen Paracool with. I don't think that Pinnacle is Paracool, but maybe they are. Maybe they are Pickle. Maybe they are the Pickle. Is that them? Has the Spear Bearer Revolution reached C rank? Yeah, I have no clue if that's the same character. But they've got me questioning myself. Maybe it is the same character. Then we see some D rank regulars. Moguri, Alex, Kong, Trio, and Trio look like they might be the same kind of tribe or race or whatever you would call them that those two people, were they Rito and Leto? Something like that. The two that Wangnan fought during the workshop battle, they might be related to them somehow, is what I'm thinking. And then after Trio we had Polo, who looks kind of like the cat guy that was part of Varagarv's team. Purple Eye Brothers, Navigator, and I think that's his name. I think his name is Navigator. And then we see some mystery people down at the bottom. And at first, I wasn't paying much attention to it because I'm like, I don't know if they're supposed to be important or not. But if we showed all these important characters, those 4 panels have to mean something. Those have to be important characters that we just either don't know yet or don't recognize yet. I have no idea who the dark skin guy with the wings could be. I don't remember anyone looking like that. But they have to be somewhat important if we're seeing them here. But as for some of the others, some different things I thought of. Could one of the ones in the cloaks, or could the lady on the boat be Elaine? I'm just trying to think of characters that aren't here that could show up that do kind of look like that. Could it be Elaine? Could they be Rachel's allies, like in the cloaks or anything? Or could any of them be like Michael or Apple? Some of the allies that Rachel used to have. Or could the two in the cloaks, could that be Angel and Elliot as a possibility? I don't think any of them were Chang or Quattro, but could those be Angel and Elliot? Could it be Daniel and Akka that were in the cloaks? That's a possibility with the one bigger guy and the one tiny guy. It could be Daniel and Akka. Or I was thinking, could the people on the boat, they could also maybe be Danwa and Yiwa. Maybe that's Danwa paddle. It doesn't really look that much like them, but maybe it's Danwa paddling the boat and Yiwa is the one standing on it. So maybe. But those are just some guesses to who those people might be in the mystery panels. Then we finally see the D-rank regular, Ever-Curious Levy, who has a really cool design. I like the design, and I think they're probably going to be Bomb's rival for this arc, since they're the ones specifically chosen by Zahard. Even though there are C-ranks around, I think that Levy is probably the one that's going to be Bomb's main enemy. So then we see some of what I'm going to say I don't know about the translation whatsoever. Not because line is bad, but because we have like 90 different terms for a militaristic collective here. We've got them saying things like, hold on, let me look at the notes here. We've got squadrons, divisions, battalions, companies. I don't know what, and we don't have regiments. We don't have any idea what any of these things mean. There's no context. There's no hierarchy where we know, okay, this is part of this and this is under or above this. So I have no idea what the ranks are between these groups or what any of this means, but we have a bunch of members of Squadron 4. I would assume Squadron is the largest grouping of the armed forces, and everything else is smaller bits of that. So then beneath Squadron we have the term Division, and this is Division 2 of Squadron 4. Squadron 4 is run by the human collector guy, Calavan. So this is Division 2. So I would assume then that the divisions are the second smallest grouping or tier. But we see two third regimental commanders. Again, no idea what the term means, and they are the rankers Misabichi and Powler. And then we have the 3rd Battalion commander. And again, we have the term battalion. Where is that in this hierarchy? But we have the commander Holly. And then we don't have ranks for the rest, so we can just assume that they're rankers. We don't know if they're also 3rd Battalion commanders, whatever that means, or if they're just part of the 3rd Battalion. But in addition to Holly, who is the commander for sure, we have Knife, Water Jelly, H23, Yuryu, and H14. And I actually liked, with the exception of Holly, who's kind of lame, and Water Jelly's whatever, the rest I really like their designs. In fact, Knife, his arms are floating around him, so he looks like he could be maybe some kind of robot or something even, and H23 and H14 definitely look robotic. But Yuryu in particular had a really cool design that I liked. Then we see the 2nd company commander. Okay, so now we have companies. Where do they line up within this? I don't understand it all. So is regiment the bottom, then battalions above regiment, then companies above battalion, then divisions above that, and then the highest is squadron? It's so difficult to tell. There's no indication we have so far. But we have the 2nd company commander, who is called an advanced ranker, Fonse called Drac. I liked their design. They were sleeping and had just been woken up by the person barking to them, hey, you need to get ready, the train's here. So again, we're seeing another Fonse call. They look more like Lorraine than they do the female member, which is Irure. So maybe it's just the females have pink hair and the males have green hair. No clue how this Eurasia family works. So we have Drac, who's presumably really good at using Shinsu, and they're called an advanced ranker, which we haven't heard before, and they used the term high ranker separately later on, so we know that it's not just a mistranslation of high ranker, probably. So again, did my research into rankers. In addition, I think it's what I originally guessed in the live reaction, though. The way it works is there's around 100,000 rankers in existence, and the top 1% are given the title High Ranker. Well, they're given a few things. The top 1% are given the title of High Ranker, they're given a sobriquet, and they fulfill one of the 2 requirements to rule a floor. In order to rule a floor, you need to both make a special contract getting permission from the Guardian, and in addition to that, you also have to be a high ranker. So there's only a limited number of floors and therefore a limited number of rulers, and we don't know if more than one person rules a floor. But from what we know so far, it was said that there are 2 people who aren't, every floor is owned by somebody who's either part of the 10 families or associated with the Zahard Empire, except for 2 floors. Floor 77, which is the one ruled by Bayek Ryun and used as a stronghold for Will Haixong, and Floor 2, which is taken over by Evenkel. So, with the exception of those 2, I feel like we might learn that there are more exceptions, because there's a chance that all the other floors are under the rule of somebody connected to Zahard, and FUG just has hideouts on those floors, or FUG could actually have a few floors that one of them is the ruler of. So, again, not quite sure. In addition to that, there's something else. Oh yeah, of course, there's no ruler for floor 1, because that's just kind of Head-On's deal. And there's also no ruler for floor 43, because there's no Guardian, and so one of the 2 ways to become a ruler, one of the 2 requirements, isn't able to be done. You can't make a contract with a Guardian if there's no Guardian. So I guess kind of Heljo was the semi-ruler, and before that, Desan, Deja, who knows. But yeah, so that's what makes somebody a high ranker. Being in the top 1,000 gives them those abilities or whatever. So the top around 1,000, the top 1%. So what I'm thinking then is that an advanced ranker could be the top 10%, aka the top 10,000. So I would put my bets on that being what advanced ranker means, but there is a second option that I thought of while taking notes. Advanced ranker could mean that they haven't made it to the top floor yet, but they're so skilled that they've been given an early rank. So they've been advanced to the position of ranker before they've even made it to the top. So that could be another reason, but that's a little bit more far-fetched than it just being the top 10,000. So yeah, that's the guess. I mentioned sobriquets too, didn't I? For high rankers. High rankers are given sobriquets and given the permission, or one of the two ways to become a ruler. Yeah, so guess that's about it. So then we see Karaka and Wangning quickly. We get the 2nd Division's assistant commander, the high ranker Dorian Frog, and then the 2nd Division's commander, the high ranker Ha Cheon-hee. Now, somebody, thank you on Twitter, whoever it was. Gosh, sorry, I forget everybody's names when I'm not directly looking at it. I'm sorry. There's just so many people I talk to everywhere every single week. It doesn't mean I've forgotten you or what you said. It's just that I'm forgetting at the moment when I'm recording something. But I didn't even notice that Ha Cheon-hee was a member of the Ha family because they translated it as Cheon-hee Ha. They put Ha where the given name should go, if we're to believe. And see, this is a problem that Line has as well, is they are super inconsistent with surname first and given name last, or given name first and surname last. Like sometimes they'll say, oh, Kun something or another, most of the time they'll say Kun something or another. Kun Inieta, Kun Agro Agnes, or not Kun Inieta, Kun Ron. I don't believe I've ever seen them put Masheni Kun or Agaro Agnes Kun. They've never said that. And they've always done Aryeh Inieta, or Aryeh Joaquin, or Aryeh Hone. And yet sometimes they'll throw out Yuan Sung and Han Sung Yu has been like mixed up a million times, even among the same translation, I think. But then sometimes they'll have the surname last. Like, didn't they just do Woon Yeon when it should have been Yeon Woon? And now earlier in the same chapter, they did Phonsakal Drak. So Phonsakal came first, like it should be to stay consistent. But with this, they put Cheon-hee Ha. So it made it seem like, yeah, I didn't even realize that she would be part of the Ha family. But I realized that it is a mistake in the translation and not actually, her name isn't actually Cheon-hee Ha, because she does have the black hair and red eyes that basically everybody else from the Ha family except for Yura has had. So she's definitely a member of the Ha family. So yeah, that was just another translation error. But they're a high ranker and they're commander of the 2nd Division, so they're probably pretty strong, and second only in strength to probably the 1st Division commander and to the squadron leader, which is, unless they have a squadron vice leader, who knows how any of this works. The ranks are not explained at all. But Ha Cheon-hee looks like a Power Rangers villain. The design is a little bit goofy for me, but it is what it is. So then at the very end we see Joaquin and Albelda mutually agreeing to become, as weird as that sounds, mutually agreeing to become white. So the two of them are fusing together, and Joaquin says, okay, we can do it and I'll accept your conditions. So she does have some conditions in play, which are probably to help Bomb's group, at least for now. So then the blog, Siu said, super busy, not going to write much, basically just hypes up next week's going to be good, please read next week, and says that names are meaningless. So for all these characters, don't go looking for meaning in their names, and he brings up how he's named a bunch of them after footballers, and basically he just says, I give them whatever name I think fits. Like we know the story, he told the story before behind Hockney's name. He had an art book by the British artist David Hockney, and he had designed the character, and then he was just looking around his room thinking, what can I name this character? He saw the art book and he just was like, okay, I'll name him David Hockney because it's the name on the art book. So that's how Hockney got his name. So there's not a lot of thought that goes into them. He says there's only a few that he's actually put any sort of meaning into their name. And I think he mentioned Yu Han Sung was one of those. But yeah, that was it for the chapter. There was crazy amounts of hype and you know, a crazy amount of content for just 1 week of time. So yeah, it was obviously hype, and I hope, my biggest hope is that we get actual fights for all these characters. Don't just introduce all these characters and have them get immediately destroyed, or just forget about them and have them do absolutely nothing. I would rather spend 50 chapters at this station and see each of those characters get a fight against one of Bomb's allies than to stay here for 30 to 40 chapters anyway and not get to see all those characters fight. Looking at Floor of Death, looking at Name Hunt Station. It's just so disappointing when we're introduced to these characters and it's like, oh, cool new characters, and then they just never do anything, sometimes never even really show up again. So yeah, that's the only thing, is I'm so hyped for these characters that we've been introduced to that I really hope it's not just all for nothing. But I'd give this really close to a perfect score. It didn't tell this super amazing and deep story, which is why it's not getting a perfect score, but really close to perfect because this is an insane amount of content and all good, surprising content in one single week. I'd give it 9.75. New characters out of 10. That was kind of an uncreative one, but aren't they always? But either way, I hope you enjoyed the video. Like if you did like the video, comment down there to tell me what you thought of this chapter, what you thought of my thoughts on it and all that. Subscribe for more. Tower of God much more on the channel. Follow on Twitter if you want, and I'll try to keep you updated there and stuff for the channel. And if you want a link to our Discord server to talk to me or more of us there, just ask and I'll give you a link. That's it. Thank you once again for watching, and I'll see you all next time.